So yeah, let's bring it back to the very big. It's not, but I just like doing that because 0. But let's take it back to 0. Had to record because I accidentally forgot something and spoiled something, so I had to. So, I like this because you deal with 2 types of stories. You're dealing with this father and his AI, and with that sort of story, and how that works, and all the stuff around that, and the origin of the AI, the debate of the AI, and the philosophy of the different sides. You're also dealing with the action of the stereotypical Terminator sort of film with the kids. And you have those 2 sides side by side. And I like that as an interesting idea because you're constantly debating about it. And I do love that, yeah, you do still, it is a Terminator series, you do still deal with this sort of action sort of stuff. But you have a lot of stuff where it's like questioning where's the line. I'll talk about that more in the spoiler section because there's certain sections I want to talk about and one that I quite disagree with how the story says the AI. Not that it's not a wrong conclusion, but I would like to put a pin in that. But I do like that through the action you are debating is what the original Terminator had, restoring the original Terminator, which I think a lot of people know by this point. But just so I don't count this as spoilers for this, because 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, I'm just going to quickly just say that. This is not spoilers for this series, but because it is part of most series, and I would recommend watching the regular Terminator to get this, because you would get confused. But one of the things that I would, or at least just the first one, because then you get the basic input, with the Terminator is the end of the world, humanity dies, etc., etc., etc. That's the point. The world is going to humans' extinction. And the one reason why I like it is because it's a debate. So, one of the things that first comes up with the debate is one of the kids keeps being like, oh, you can do whatever you want, it's just some robots. As that idea. But we also bring up the origin of the word robot, which they say is Greek, which I've heard it's Latin. I might be wrong, fully. I might be fully wrong, but that is not the main point. The word robot comes from the word, which I don't know if it's Greek or Latin or both, robotis or roboti. I don't fully know, and I'm not good at language, but I know it meant slave, essentially. Somewhat. That is what it means. It's the same thing with, what is it called? It's the World's End, which has a similar message on it about that word. And it's a really interesting idea. And I kind of find that really interesting as an idea. But the one thing which I would like to point out that I slightly disagree is one of the things that she brings up, the AI, is that you have this sort of being, and she's like, do you know the one thing that sets humans apart? And you have a couple of things. One, is it the fact that we bury our dead? No, you have had certain animals that bury the dead. Is the fact that we use tools? No, certain other animals do actually use tools like monkeys. Again, not a monkey animal expert, but I do know there are animals who supposedly use tools. Language? Well, even though animals don't have a language that we can just basically look into a book and decipher, they are doing some form of communication. So there is a language there of sorts. And I don't know if there's any more. And even then, with the English, you have certain animals and certain beings. Why am I saying beings like this? There's some animals who are able to replicate speech patterns, which is really interesting. I don't know the exact name, but again, I do know they exist. I think the most obvious one is not the canary, but there's a parrot that does it. We all know the parrot of like the one where everyone's like, poly this and poly that. That's a thing. It's in Ace Attorney 1. But besides the point, one of the things that they say that makes humans depart is that they're the only ones that created sort of war that will outright fight their own species. I would like to argue against that. Because, yes, are we a species that deliberately makes items deliberately for a conflict? Yes. Okay. I think I'll just go a bit of makeup, so bad. That or yeah, I think this is just. Yeah, it's makeup. Anyway, makes this conflict, and I would disagree, because if you go down to the roots, what is a war? A war is a fighting over territory. I believe that I should live here, or you should not live here. Or I believe I should own this territory. At the end of the day, the conflict is either territory, food, or territory, food, water, and I'm talking about like food and water go way back in the old-fashioned days when that was actually a concern. Territory, food, water, or just land. Owning that land and being the sort of like dominion over that land. Extremely rough version of what I am saying. But what I mean by that is, what if lions fighting over their territory, bears fighting each other, except them fighting over territory? Yes, you don't get that for omnivores, as far as I'm aware, but you do get like stags and bears fighting over who to mate, or like who to pass on their genes, which you do have in old-fashioned battles where they want to keep this specific sort of like gene pool alive through battles and conflicts. Again, is it very animalistic? I'm not even denying that. But my question is, saying that, I will fully admit that we're the only ones that think like we should get arms while trying to discuss peace. There is a very contradictory level and very us versus them mentality that we have. Animals, I don't really think, have that. They attack basically to defend the family. And if they're not attacking, oh well, who cares? And I don't know if that's the same. I don't know. This is just, again, going into debate. But saying that we're the only ones that create war, if other animals do fight for territories, again, not the expert. I can be fully wrong, and this means something different. But that's one I would like to just put a sort of pin in, as I don't really think that is correct. So yeah, that was long. Again, it was just me talking about certain things that I agree or disagree with the ideology, which I think is a huge focus on this. Also, I forgot something. Anyway, I'm just going to add it here. I also like the fact that the AI comes from the future. The whole story with both of them, with the future going to the past, and how the past time travel works, which I can't explain fully. Go and watch the show, because that explains it 10 times better than I will ever try and just being like, it means this and this. But I do like it. I do think this is really good. I do think it's a very fun way to look about it. I'm hoping there's a season 2. I don't know where we're going to go with this, but I would love more sort of like debates, because it does have that action. It does have that fighting. You do get those fighting scenes. But I also like them talking about, like, what is the point? What is the meaning for doing any of this? And sort of one of the things I like is, can AI sort of, in a way, have a soul? And I love that idea. It is one of the most interesting things ever. So yeah, this is almost like a 10-minute video by this point. But yeah, this series is amazing. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you liked and comment. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed, and good night.